In the city, it's the...
Wow.
It's spring. The British countryside is bursting with new life. Hedgerows are laden with blossom and the fields are splashed with green again. Birds, which have stayed with us all winter, already have families of their own. An abundant supply of insects provides them with food, and this also attracts migrant birds from other parts of the world too. Among them are the Housemartins, which spend most of their year thousands of kilometres away in Africa. As the spring progresses, about 500,000 of them come flying back to Britain, where they first saw the light of day. They're back from the blue. Housemartins are one of the 3 members of the swallow family that breed in this country. They live in close association with man and are often confused with swallows. The swallow has a more deeply forked tail and a rusty red chin and forehead. The 3rd member of the family is the sand martin. At first glance, male and female swallows look very similar, but the male's colouring is usually richer and darker. The only other swallow-shaped bird in Britain is the swift, with its distinctive sickle-shaped silhouette. Although it looks similar, it's not closely related to the others. It belongs to a separate order, the Apodiformes, or legless ones. It's so specialised for life in the air that its legs are virtually useless for walking. Faster than any other bird, the swift spends almost its whole life on the wing, sleeping and even mating in the air. The Housemartin can be recognised by its distinctive white rump. In slow motion, it glides and stalls with the same grace and mastery of flight as the other members of its family. The Housemartins that breed in Britain spend the winter in Central Africa, foraging for insects from ground level to several thousand metres in the air. From February through to April and even into May, they make the long journey back north for the breeding season. The greatest hazard en route is the Sahara Desert. The long haul across can take 4 days with little opportunity for food, rest or water. Lives will be lost, but those survivors making for Britain will continue north until they're safely across the English Channel. Each bird will then head for the very place where it hatched. For most of their long journey, Housemartins navigate by using the sun, the moon and the stars. As they get nearer to home and begin to recognise the surrounding countryside, they follow the course of local rivers and use familiar landmarks as their guide. Almost as regular as clockwork, the first Housemartins arrive in this area of Norfolk in time for May Day, males usually forming the advance guard. For the first few days, they rest and preen their feathers. By the end of May, as the last pairs arrive, the earlier birds are busy gathering materials to build their nests. Nailed to the wall of this house are nest boxes specially designed for Housemartins, which the birds readily adopt. Old nests too are quickly reoccupied. although this one is in need of some fairly major repairs. Housemartins build their nests under the eaves of houses and barns. They collect large mouthfuls of soft, wet mud as building material. The pellets of mud are plastered layer upon layer to form a basic cup-shaped nest. The building work is undertaken equally by both male and female. Starting from scratch, it takes the birds 10 to 14 days to complete the task. Birds that have finished the cup collect pieces of dry straw to start making the lining. Others sometimes collect wet straw along with the mud. Worked into the structure, the straw strengthens the fabric of the nest. Housemartins prefer to nest close to each other, and one nest is frequently plastered straight onto the side of another. When the birds are satisfied that the nest is complete and the mud is quite dry, they will begin to line the cup inside. They use grasses, feathers and straw collected from the ground nearby. As both sexes look alike, it's only during copulation or egg-laying that one can be sure which is male and which is female. Housemartins mate inside the nest, usually in the early morning. The pathetic fluttering of a sickly bird attracts the attention of a couple of unmated males, which attempt to mate with it. Housemartins appear to be fascinated by feathers, especially white ones. They'll break off from whatever they're doing to swoop down and snatch them from the air. Housemartins never nest far from water. The reason is simple. If they have to carry the mud for more than about 200 meters, it dries out too much to be used for building. By June, the females are well into egg-laying. A complete clutch contains between 4 and 6 eggs, secure in the nest under the eaves. An unattended nest is inspected by a local squatter. But a hole designed for a slim, sleek housemartin will not quite accommodate a plump sparrow. Instead, he resumes the task of collecting suitable building materials to finish his own nest under the tiles. This old broken-down housemartin's nest has been refurbished by another of our summer visitors, a spotted flycatcher. The flycatcher is so quiet and unobtrusive, many people don't know when they have one in the garden. There's no point in trying to identify one by looking for spots. This mouse-brown bird is confusingly named. Only the juveniles have any spots at all, and they're pale and indistinct. For the housemartins, there's now a spell of sitting and waiting. The eggs are incubated for about 14 days, with both partners doing their fair share. At intervals, the sitting bird turns the eggs before settling down again. During the incubation period, some of the housemartin's hangers-on make an appearance. In the debris of last year's nest, there's a whole host of blood-sucking parasites: fleas, mites, lice and flat flies. They lie dormant all winter, but when the birds return, they emerge to feed. The housemartin has the unfortunate distinction of being one of the most heavily infested of all birds. By the middle of June, the chicks have hatched. For the first few days, one bird incubates them while the other provides the family with food. The hatchlings, although they're blind and totally helpless, have a voracious appetite. Every 30 minutes or so in fine weather, their parents return with a mouthful of insects and spiders. Providing the chicks with enough food is a full-time job. But the summer season is short, so the chicks must grow fast, and they consume vast quantities of insects. The birds in the nest boxes had a head start. Their chicks are older by several days and are beginning to take a look at the world outside. But the older they get, the more mess they make. People don't always welcome housemartins, even though they're supposed to bring good luck. But in this case, chicken wire, put up to keep them away, has become the foundation of their nests. No one knows why the birds choose to build beneath the eaves of only certain houses. Often, householders who'd like the birds are unlucky, while those who do their best to scare them away have them year after year. The local cats pose more of a problem. As far as they're concerned, all birds are fair game. Housemartins are usually far too quick in the air, even for a cat, but it can sometimes be a very close shave, especially when there's more than one enemy at hand. Although the odds are against them, the cats don't give up easily. With so many birds flying tantalizingly close, there's always a slim chance of scoring a direct hit. The cats are bored with their lack of success and finally move off in search of easier quarry. Housemartins haven't always built their nests under the eaves of houses. Originally, they were a cliff and cave nesting species. It's more than likely that their close association with humans developed in the distant past when man and bird shared the same caves. There are still a few colonies of housemartins nesting on cliffs around the British Isles, but if there are houses nearby, the birds choose them as an easier nesting site. In remote areas, where they don't have the choice, they live as they always have since long before humans came on the scene. They may have to fly inland to feed and find nesting material, but they're secure here from any conceivable enemy. Gulls and other cliff nesting birds can't begin to approach the tiny ledges on vertical cliffs where the martins nest. In the absence of fine grasses and straw, they sometimes collect dried algae from the shore to line their muddy cups. But these cliff colonies are few and far between. For centuries, the housemartin has earned its name by nesting cheek by jowl with humans. Houses are not their only nesting place, though ancient colonies built onto bridges are today largely deserted, probably because of increasing vibration from traffic. The once famous colony at Atcham Bridge over the River Severn near Shrewsbury had more than 400 nests in the 1980s. But although the bridge is disused, numbers have fallen steadily. Until today, there are hardly more than 40 remaining. The reasons aren't clear, but a major factor may be the continuing use of pesticides that kill the insects the birds need to eat. Another may be a shortage of nesting materials. People in towns and villages do tend to like tidy surroundings, paving over patches of mud rather than leaving them for the birds to use. However, where they can find the means, martins can nest in some unexpected places. Unlike house martins, the closely related sand martin does not build complicated structures of mud. Instead, they raise their young in tunnels dug into cliffs of sand. With their brown breastbands, the little sand martins are quite distinct from their larger cousins. In 1968 and 69, their population crashed following a drought in the wintering area south of the Sahara. They've now recovered to about a quarter of their former numbers, after an all-time low in 1984. Swallows show a positive preference for outbuildings as breeding places. A rafter in a barn or shed is a favourite nesting place, providing a firm support for the mud nest. Swallows raise 2 broods each summer, sometimes 3. These youngsters can already preen themselves and are beginning to move around and exercise their wings. In hot weather, the birds pant to keep cool. The chicks are always hungry, and the adult bird spends the entire day on the wing searching for insects. Swallows feed nearer to the ground than house martins, so they don't compete with each other for food. The young house martins, too, are ready to leave the nest. They flex their wings and exercise their flight muscles. Any day now, they'll take the plunge. Instead of taking to the air, this young bird only managed to clamber from its own nest into the one next door. When an adult returns, it immediately recognizes and drives out the intruder. The young house martins are now on their own. Their parents don't protect or feed them after they've flown. They gather on overhead wires and concentrate on building up their strength and fat reserves. Later on, they'll spend a great deal of time flying around the area, which they must be able to recognize when they return to breed next year. When it's cold and wet, young swallows and house martins can only sit out the showers and wait for better weather. In bad storms, many birds sometimes die. Bedraggled and soaked to the skin, they can quickly succumb to hypothermia. Housemartins have few enemies, but the hobby is one of them. It's one of the fastest birds on the wing and has little difficulty in catching a housemartin. This handsome little falcon normally feeds on large insects, but it preys on small birds, particularly housemartins and swallows, when it has young to feed. Even when not hunting, hobbies give the impression of easy, graceful power. This one effortlessly cruises alongside a car travelling 80 kilometers an hour. Their prey is usually caught and eaten in the air. In late summer, housemartins fly in large flocks over the fields, especially at harvest time. The machines disturb swarms of insects, and the housemartins are quick to snap them up. No one knows when the housemartins first discovered that harvesters meant a plentiful supply of food, but it was undoubtedly before the invention of tractors and combines. These scenes were filmed at one of the last farms in Britain to use horsepower today. The feeding behaviour of housemartins often gives a clue to what the weather is going to do. If the birds fly high, the chances are it'll be fine, but if they settle in the trees, then rain is probably in the offing. This apparent ability to predict rain is connected with their insect diet. During periods of low pressure, the insects descend in the air and the housemartins in turn have to hunt their prey at lower levels. As the weeks pass, the adults that have finished breeding gather to swell the numbers resting on the wires. Early each morning they fly off to feed for the day. Then, quite suddenly, in response to some unseen signal, the flocks begin to depart and head south to their winter quarters in Africa. Some will never return from the long journey, falling victim to storms and the merciless desert. But every year there are enough survivors, and early one day next spring, the first of the housemartins will once again arrive back from the blue.